Hello and welcome to Homemaking with Joy. I'm Rachel and this is my first video of the 2025 Pantry Challenge. In today's video, I'll be going over the origins of the Pantry Challenge, the rules of it or how I like to do it, a tour of my pantry so you can see what I'm starting with, and some of the meals I'll be making in January without going to the grocery store. We are hanging out in my basement today because after this introduction, we will be heading over to my bulk pantry, which is also in my basement. But first, I wanted to talk to you about the Pantry Challenge. If you'd like to skip ahead to a different part of this video, here are your timestamp options. If you're not familiar with the Pantry Challenge, it goes on annually and it is led by Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead. She started this challenge many years ago. This is my second year participating and I really enjoy it. It's a great challenge to see if we have everything in our house that we need to eat for a whole month. And it also saves us a lot of money. We don't spend any money on groceries in the month of January. There's a caveat to that. I'll get to it later. We also like to use what we have. We need to rotate through seasonal items. All of my canned goods should be or mostly consumed by the next growing season. And so we need time to intentionally set aside to eat those veggies or fruits or whatever we have preserved. We also have freezers full of meat, and sometimes those less appealing cuts get sent to the bottom. I'm hoping with the Pantry Challenge I can pull things out that I've thrown in the freezer and I don't remember are in there and use things before they go bad. I want to be a good steward of everything that I have, and the Pantry Challenge really helps me be intentional and get that food eaten because it's good food. We want to eat it. I highly recommend you go to the YouTube search bar and just type Pantry Challenge and you will be flooded with videos of so many people doing the Pantry Challenge. And what's great is everybody does it a little bit differently, and so you can see how everyone approaches it, and lots of people share meals, lots of people share the grocery hauls beforehand, and you can see a lot of creativity come through as people use what they have in their houses as they run out of ingredients or have to substitute or whatever the case may be. It's just really encouraging and sparks a lot of good ideas for content creators across YouTube. So check that out if you haven't already. The rules I'm going to use for my Pantry Challenge this year are I'm going to still buy milk. We get raw milk pickup every week, so we don't have a cow, so we need milk in the house. And I'm also going to get eggs from the store if need be. We do have chickens, but we only have a couple, and in the winter they don't lay so much. So eggs are a staple in our house and I don't want to forego those. But if I'm only buying milk and eggs throughout the whole month of January, that will save us a lot of money. I will be taking one more trip to the grocery store before the Pantry Challenge officially begins on January 1st. I don't want to cheat, as my husband says, and just get all the groceries that we need for the month of January, but instead just plug a couple holes. I'm going to confirm as I look through my pantry that we have everything that we normally have and that I like to have on hand, and then I can work from that as we make our meals. If I do run out of something in the month of January, oh well, I will find a substitute. But I think I have my backups pretty well in hand to do just fine for 1 month. If I had to do 2 months, that would probably stretch us, but I don't know. We'll see at the end of 1 month if I want to continue with month number 2. And now it's time for me to stop talking about the pantry and actually take you there so you can see what food I have stored for this winter year, January, and see what we're starting with as the Pantry Challenge approaches. I mentally categorize my pantry into 4 main parts. I have my home canned goods behind me. I have store-bought goods. I have a couple of deep freezers, and I also have some bulk dry bins that I will show you. I'll go through one by one so you can see what I have available and how we're starting this Pantry Challenge. Here is a view of my home canned pantry shelves. Apologies for the lighting and the random stuff, but this is my basement, so you can't be too picky about it. But we're going to go through side by side. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of every jar on these shelves, but I will give you the basic rundown. I would also love to tell you that these were organized in some nice fashion, like fruits and veggies and meats, but they're not. It's just wherever I've had space to put things. So bear with me, we're just cruising through. First things first, we have cranberry juice. I just did a video about this recently on YouTube. Super easy. My kids just like it as a treat. They don't often get juice, and so I like knowing exactly what's in the juice they're consuming. Loads of peaches. We really like home canned peaches and don't want to eat them any other way, minus fresh. But we have a huge family canning day with my husband's family, so shout out to them. I would not have all these beautiful peaches without their help. They are super delicious. I also, as I was preparing for this, found a box of peaches from last year that were like on the top and tucked back, and I didn't know they were there. So rest assured we're eating those first. They still taste great, don't worry. I also did some peach barbecue sauce this past year with some peaches. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't know that I'll do it again, but we have a couple of jars of that. We have some jam, some strawberry jam. So all the strawberries that came out of my garden this past year just got frozen and they've already been eaten. I actually buy frozen strawberries bulk from Azure and then make the jam. It's really convenient because it's already topped and everything. You just pour it in and measure it and make it. Highly recommend it. We have some zucchini pineapple. I think this is Ruth Ann Zimmerman's recipe. It's really awesome. It's zucchini that you peel and then you can it in pineapple juice and it tastes just like pineapple. I like pineapple on my pizza. No one else in my family does, so it's nice to just have a couple jars of this. I can crack one open for myself, put it on my pizza, and it's not like a lot of work. And I got to use something from my garden. We have barbecue sauce. This is the recipe from More Than Farmers, their smoky barbecue sauce. It's really good. I have quite a few pints of this around because ultimately you can have a lot of food stored, but like plain chicken, plain beef, plain whatever is really boring. So having nice sauces like the peach barbecue sauce, the smoky, it makes your food a lot more interesting. Moving on, let's see, green beans. Oh, these green beans. These have been around since 2022 and we are still trying to eat them. My family does not love canned green beans and I accidentally ordered way too many from a local farm when I got these, and so we had so many green beans and so we're still working on them. Maybe this winter we can finally eat them all, but it's a little rough. Toddlers and canned green beans don't really mix in our house. Okay. We have, again, some old carrots. I don't even need to pull them out. Old carrots, it was a recipe I didn't like, but I feel bad wasting them. So, there's a YouTuber that calls it her apocalypse shelf. These are on my apocalypse shelf. If we had no other food, I would eat them, but not really my first choice, so it's okay. We have venison. This is canned with peppers and onions, but we also have plain venison back here. My husband does hunt, and so one of the ways we like to preserve it is canning. I think it makes it a lot more tender, and I prefer to eat it canned instead of slow cooked or something. Let's see, we also have some canned pork. This is super convenient for like quick, easy pulled pork sandwiches. Just combine this with some of the barbecue sauce, and you basically have a meal. We have chicken. Chicken is one of the ugliest canned things ever, but we do have some canned chicken. If it's ever on sale at the store or I just like feel like we're running low, I'll buy a big bulk pack of chicken. And when you do pints in the canner, you can get a boatload in there. And so I'll just do a bunch of chicken or whatever at once. And again, just crack it open, super easy chicken salad or something for a fast lunch. All you mamas know we need fast, easy lunches. I do have some of these in quarts as well if I'm feeding the whole family. What else do we have here? Lots of applesauce. Again, we have a family applesauce canning day. It is absolutely wonderful. And so this beautiful home canned applesauce is just apples. Just apples. We don't need any sugar or anything. And so we have lots and lots of applesauce that the kids will just snack on. Also during our apple day, we do apple pie filling. So we don't use pie filling a lot. I don't make a lot of pies. I do like to use it for apple crisp. I can just dump some of this in an 8x8 and make a crumb topping. Makes for a super fast, super easy dessert. The other thing I have in here is some cherry pie filling. This cherry pie filling, let me tell you. So my husband's grandma, she has a cherry tree in her yard. She goes and picks the cherries, she preps them, she cans this beautiful cherry pie filling, and she gives it to her grandchildren. This stuff is worth like priceless dollars. It's so good. And the fact that she does all of that and gives it to family members, we save this for special occasions because it's the bomb. So good. Thank you very much, Grandma. we have some pears. We really like home canned pears, and this is a great thing to have on hand for kids who can get constipated. So my sweet kiddos know if they're having a hard time, Mommy, can we have pears with dinner tonight and make things easier? I'll say, absolutely, we'll get some from the basement. Pears. What else? I'm inserting this clip because I forgot to tell you that I have home canned sweet relish on my shelves, and it's amazing. It makes the best deviled egg filling stuff. It's my secret ingredient and so good, so I couldn't forget to tell you that I have it. Okay, keep watching. Bottom row here I'm going to grab to show you. I have some beans. Home canned beans are just super convenient. So I have chickpeas, I have kidney beans, I have black beans, I have pinto beans, all for the taco needs. I also have some baked beans. Again, this is Ruth Ann Zimmerman's recipe. I have it in pints and quarts. Super easy side dish. My family doesn't love it, but I do, so I'll just eat these a lot. And they're really, really yummy. I highly recommend her recipe. Lots of broth, so quarts and pints of broth. This happens to be turkey broth. I like to take the carcasses after Thanksgiving. Most of the family members will bring me their carcasses. I'll make lots of turkey broth and then can it up. I think I do have a YouTube video about it if you want to watch it. But chicken broth, turkey broth, currently out of beef broth, which is a bummer, but we use it for soup. And I like to cook rice in it too. Give the rice a little more nutrition, especially when feeding kiddos. Let's see, and then I have a couple of pre-made soups. So, let's see. This is like a chicken corn soup. This is a turkey pot pie filling. I really like having this around. Just some pre-made things, but my family doesn't love soups. I mean, I'm feeding little toddlers. Toddlers don't generally like soup, so they've been around a little bit, so I'm going to focus on using them this winter too. I can just eat them for lunches or whatever. I don't need to feed them to the family because they won't really love it. I really like my toddlers to eat soup, and we're working on it. If you serve a lot of bread on the side and just let them dip it, it helps. Good bread makes everything better. And then the last thing I have is some salsa. This is from 2023, just like 1 or 2 jars of salsa that I like to include in taco casseroles and things. I don't love the recipe that I used. I don't think it turned out that great, so I just mix it into casseroles and then it doesn't really matter. We do have a couple store-bought items down here. I have some Azure honey. We get this giant thing of honey. It's very expensive, but it never goes bad. So some raw honey we keep on hand, and a gigantic tub of coconut oil because, I don't know, this is a good baking substitute. If I ever run out of butter or something, this is a cooking fat that I can use in baked goods or whatever. I did have to be dairy-free after having my first 2 kiddos, so I used a lot of coconut oil for that too, but it's just easy to keep on hand. It's not going to go bad, and there you go. I think that's everything on this shelf, so I'm going to move you to a different shelf and we'll keep going. I hope it doesn't feel like I'm talking 100 miles a minute, but I also don't want this video to be like 4 hours long. So thanks for bearing with me. We are moving on to the store-bought items and then the freezer. So here we go, store-bought. And because this is my basement, here's our water heater. We're just working with what we have here. So starting up here above the freezer, we have some raisins. The kids like to snack on those. Oatmeal raisin cookies, homemade granola bars, things like that. We have freezer bags. I do like to make freezer meals, so I like to keep those on hand. I think they were on sale because these are also freezer bags. But again, they're not going to go bad. They're good for lots of things. It's fine. We have some chips. We are a Martin's chip family. You may have seen a Martin's box around here too. We do like to keep them and use them for storage. We do look like addicts if you see how many Martin's chips boxes are around our house, but they're just, we like to keep them on hand for parties, etc. On the top shelf we have some pasta. I have some Azure pasta. I like to buy this in bulk, and I also have just some Barilla pasta. We actually tried the name brand instead of the store brand recently, and this tastes way better. It tastes different, which I was surprised about, but we like this. And I keep the types of noodles on hand that go well for quick recipes. I do have a pasta machine upstairs that I can make homemade pasta from scratch, but it doesn't make every type of noodle, and sometimes you just need something fast and easy. So I have a couple of Instant Pot noodle recipes, and those are written for store-bought noodles, and so I keep those on hand. So like the shells I have for our creamy beef and shells, Elbow macaronis are for Instant Pot hamburger helper. I do my best to always have those on hand because sometimes you need those in a pinch. A giant container of peanut butter. This is, what, 9 pounds of peanut butter when it's full. We never run out of peanut butter. Because again, we have some jam, we have some peanut butter, if we have some homemade bread, we can always eat something. Some Azure whole dried corn. This is what I put in my grain mill to make homemade cornbread, straight from the corn. You don't need cornmeal, just need the corn. We have some saltines that my husband likes with soup. We have some tuna and canned salmon for tuna patties, tuna salad, etc. It's a nice change of pace from the other meats we have, and it's shelf stable in the cans. Moving down, we have some brown sugar for baking. We have some grape juice. My kids like homemade jello, and grape is their favorite flavor. It's also good for masking. Sometimes they have to take medicine or vitamins, and that's a good way to mask the flavor of those. I have some lemon juice I got from Azure. We like to make homemade lemonade as a treat. So this is the lemon juice I like to use, and some honey or cane sugar, and the kids are super happy. Some store-bought sauces. Have you ever had those meatballs? The grape jelly meatballs? My kids love those. So I like to keep the grape jelly and the chili sauce on hand. So someday I will make my own grape jelly and have, but I don't yet. And someday I will can my own chili sauce, but not yet, to make a little healthier alternative. But they gobble them up, and they're super convenient. Especially like tomorrow night, I'm going to be away for dinner. My husband has the kids to himself. So I'm going to make the grape jelly meatballs, and those will be sitting in the Instant Pot. And we're going to have rice on the side, so that'll be sitting in the rice cooker. And he can just push 2 buttons and then maybe warm up a vegetable if they want to eat a vegetable. And then dinner is served. So again, one of those easy things. I can help him or a family member, and my kids will definitely eat all of them. This is some all-purpose flour. It should be moved into a bucket, but hasn't happened yet. I have some molasses for baking, or if I were to run out of brown sugar, I have a whole bucket full of white sugar. I can add some molasses and make brown sugar. Some Worcestershire sauce, some beans. They're not supposed to be here, but they are. Those are beans that I use in the baked beans that I showed you in the canned section. Some mustard back here, some Alfredo sauce I got for a recipe once, and I don't know when I'll use it again, but maybe in the pantry challenge. Some barbecue sauce that I got before I canned all of the barbecue sauce. Some coconut aminos. This is what we like to use instead of soy sauce. This is an alternative. Tastes really good. We have some jalapenos. I was going to use this in a canning recipe, and then I ran out of time. So now I just have some canned jalapenos. We don't even like spicy things, so maybe I'll use it in a future canning recipe or something. And some green chilies. Again, I think for a recipe that never happened, so I don't know. This is why we do the challenge, to clean things out. Okay, last bottom row here, we have diced tomatoes. I do grow lots of tomatoes in the garden, but I don't like home canned diced tomatoes. I think they break down too much, so I get store-bought canned tomatoes. I got these from Azure. Maple syrup. I would be so sad if I ran out of maple syrup for in my coffee. This is my favorite. So, and of course pancakes and things like that. So a couple jars of maple syrup. I have some tomato paste because I'm not about to make my own tomato paste from my garden because that would take forever. So I just buy some. I don't use it that often. Some Redmond fine salt. I have a big bucket of the bigger like kosher size, but I like this for in my shaker. Some pretzels that my husband snacks on for work. I did get 1 container of beef broth since I'm out in my canned section. We have some other condiments. This is liquid smoke. This is what I used in the smoky barbecue sauce. I have some olive oil back there, some store-bought ketchup, and some vinegars. A big container of white vinegar and a big container of apple cider vinegar. And that is what we have on the store-bought shelf. Let's switch to freezers. Let's see if I can do this without freezing myself. Here's our upright freezer. In here we have so much corn. We did corn preservation over the summer. Freezer corn, sweet freezer corn, and so we have lots and lots of bags of these. They accidentally gave us extra, and so we have so much. So 1, 2, 3, all of these boxes are full of corn. I have some chicken, Some Good Ranchers chicken. We get a subscription from them. Behind that we have zucchini from the garden that I shred and freeze, mostly for zucchini muffins or to sneak into meatballs, things like that. Bunch of those. We have some apple cider. We had extra this fall, and so we froze some for a treat in the winter. Behind that I have some pasta sauce. You may have noticed on my canning shelves I didn't have any pasta sauce. It was a super busy, crazy time, and so I just bought these containers and froze it for my sanity. So I have frozen sauce in here. I have, there's one back there, pumpkin. So I grew pumpkins and then pureed it myself, and so this is pumpkin puree that I keep in here, mostly again for pumpkin muffins that my kids really like. I keep cream cheese because it just makes everything better. I use it for a lot of crock pot meals, so cream cheese in here. Lots of butter. I really like butter, so I'd be very sad if we ran out of butter, especially in the fall and winter when it's a lot of baking. We need butter. My kids like popcorn, butter on everything. Makes everything better. Up here we have some chicken. I don't know. I think I got this from a family member. I'll have to open it and find out what it is, but it's definitely chicken. I just don't know what part of the chicken. We have some hot dogs because everybody needs a really, really in a pinch meal, and they're better hot dogs, so it's fine. Let's see. This is more pumpkin and more sauce down here. And then moving in here, I have some random tortillas. These do freeze. You just gotta thaw them the whole way before you try to peel them apart. Lesson learned. Some steaks, some leftover beef that didn't fit in our other freezer. Some shrimp that is probably old and needs eaten because I'm the only one who will eat it. And then I have a couple freezer meals. If I pull them out, everything's gonna fall out. But I think it's white chicken chili and a curry meal that I have in frozen Ziploc bags in there. Again, I can pull them out in a pinch. Oftentimes those grape jelly meatballs, I have like 1 or 2 bags of those that I stick in there too, because again, you need emergency meals. If you're not gonna do takeout and you don't want like TV dinners, you have to have easy options for yourself, and those are mine. There's a drawer in the bottom here, which I have a big hunk of ham. I don't often need to make like a whole end of a ham, so this often gets tossed around in the freezers. I have some pears. I didn't get to canning all the pears, so I did freeze some. So we'll put them in smoothies or just thaw them and eat them, or put them in a cobbler or something. And this is really cold. Our ice cream frozen bucket. Okay, I gotta close this freezer. That's everything. These are our 2 chest freezers, and instead of me trying to get like a weird angle with the tripod, I'm just going to hold the camera and show you what we have in these freezers. Freezer number 1. Some people take meticulous notes so they know what's in the depths of the freezers. I just open them and organize them enough that I know what's in them basically. So again, all these yellow bags are Good Ranchers chicken. We have a subscription. We like them a lot. We have some ice cream that was left over from my brother-in-law's wedding reception. I think I might eat some of that after this. We have lots of ground beef. This is our beef freezer. We get 1/4 of a beef at a time. So there's ground beef down there. This corner has all the steaks, and this front corner has all the roasts, so I know as I'm rearranging things. Got some diced strawberries from Azure. The kids like these on yogurt or in muffins. I made some lasagna a week or so ago, and we don't need a whole 9 by 13, so I did one 8 by 8 then and froze another 8 by 8 of lasagna for a future easy meal. This is our cheese stash. I like to buy blocks of cheese from Aldi. They're a good price and they freeze really well. So I'll just thaw this and put it in my food processor with the shredder blade. And I like that it doesn't have all the extra ingredients that regular shredded cheese does. And we can get all types of cheese in here. We have Colby Jack. We like that with crackers and whatnot. Mild cheddar, sharp cheddar, mozzarella for pizza. Always got to have mozzarella. And then we have some spinach that I got for a recipe that we didn't use. I guess I got busy. And then I have some fat here in the bottom from the beef that I want to render down at some point, you know, in all my spare time. I think that's everything in here. Oh, Just a note about these. These are in all of the freezers. These are temperature sensors and they're connected to my husband's phone. We have a lot of money in our freezers and we really don't want to lose it. So if the temperature ever dips too much in this freezer, like if the power went out or this one just stopped working, this would alert my husband's phone and so we could come get all of our precious food out of all of our freezers. Highly recommend them. Moving on to our last chest freezer, we have bacon because that's essential. This is a taco casserole that I made a couple of to keep in the freezer. They're good in a pinch. Some basic veggies that we have on hand. Some pork chops that really need eaten, but pork chops are so hard to cook. These turkey breast tenderloins were on sale once, and so I got 2 of those. Under all of this stuff, I have 2 big boxes of tomatoes. So I bought some tomatoes from a local farmer over the summer and I haven't gotten around to canning them. So I haven't run out of freezer space yet, so I haven't been terribly motivated, but I'm hoping those tomatoes way down in the depths will get turned into home canned chili sauce instead of me having to buy it. Over here, again, some pork that we need to eat that's old, but I don't know how to cook it, so I'll figure it out. This is my favorite shampoo, and if you have extra, you're supposed to keep it in the freezer. This is instant yeast when I'm not using sourdough. We have some ground beef that I purchased before we got our beef cow, and this is some ground sausage that we like for casseroles or breakfast. So yeah, there's our last freezer. And last but certainly not least is my bulk dry buckets. So you can buy these food grade buckets, but a lot of them came from my local grocery store, their bakery department. I just go to the bakery and ask if they have any icing buckets that they're getting rid of, and they will happily give me all of their icing buckets that will otherwise go into the trash. They're food grade buckets, they just need washed, and then I buy the screw top lids to go on top most of the time. If not, they do have the pop-on kind. Sometimes the bakery gives them to me, sometimes they don't. But if I only have to buy the lids, that's a great help to me, and it has helped me increase the number of buckets that I have. It does feel a little bit silly. You come down the steps in the basement and just see all these buckets, but I'd rather look silly than run out of food. So here's what I have in each bucket. They're all labeled. We have white rice. I get a 25-pound bag from Azure. It fits in there. This one is brown rice. Under that is popcorn. I can get a 25-pound bag of popcorn from Azure, and it fits in that bucket. These 2 smaller buckets have beans in them. So I get the bags of beans from Azure that you saw on the other shelf, and then I just clip them and put them in here to help keep them fresher and keep any possible pests away. That lid is finicky, so I'll fix that later. This is soft white wheat. I have 3 buckets of that I rotate through, so I always have at least 1 or 2 full buckets of wheat on hand. Wheat berries store indefinitely if you store them correctly, so it never hurts to have more wheat berries on hand. Soft white wheat is what I like to use for cookies and cakes and pastry items. This is oats. So again, with this bucket, I have a couple bags. I have old-fashioned or rolled oats, and I also have quick oats in this bucket. We have, this is hard white, and this is hard white. Again, I have 3 buckets of hard white wheat. That is the wheat that I use most frequently for bread and pasta and pizza and bagels and all the things. So I have a lot of hard white wheat on hand. Over here under the shelving unit is the hard red wheat. I also have 3 buckets of hard red wheat. That's what I like to use for, again, bread and pizza dough, stuff like that. It has a different flavor, so depending on who I'm baking for will affect which wheat that I choose. Here I have some all-purpose flour, and here I do still use some all-purpose flour, and so I get a big bag from Azure and keep it in this bucket. This is all salt. I've got, again, a big bag from Redmond Real Salt and put it in here. And then the last one back here is sugar. I keep 1 bucket of organic cane sugar. Again, I get from Azure. I just get a 25-pound bag and it fits in here. I also thought too, I wrote a note on the top of when I refilled it because I listened to a podcast with oh, who was it? Maybe Sally Fallon Morell. And she talked about how much sugar people consume nowadays compared to like 100 years ago or something. And so I took note. I'm still in the process of getting more information, but to see how much sugar my family really does go through in a given amount of time. And so maybe I'll report back when I know how much sugar we consume. But just a little tidbit, there's some cane sugar. Now for all of these buckets, I do have smaller containers upstairs, so these just refill the small containers upstairs. This is a great job for my oldest toddler. He really loves to come down here with the bucket and like a 1 cup measuring cup, and he will scoop wheat berries or sugar or whatever into the smaller container. It's one way that he can help keep the kitchen flowing, since my children eat all the food that I make. So that's a good way to get them involved and to keep all of this dried bulk storage on hand. I don't use any oxygen absorbers because we go through it quickly enough, and I don't use any Mylar bags. I know some people do that for more long-term storage, but for now, just sealing the buckets in our basement. It's pretty dry in here, it's temperature controlled, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. So there you have it. That's what I have stored in my basement as I prepare for the pantry challenge. Again, I'm going to do one more grocery trip for just a couple of items that would fit into these meals I have planned, but for the most part, we could eat out of our pantry for quite a while, and I'm super grateful. But as I was preparing and shopping my pantry, I did come up with some ideas for dinners and lunches that we will have over the course of the month, and I thought I'd share them with you for ideas. I'm basically just going to read them off, and maybe something will spark an interest in you. Or if you would really like me to film one of these dinners in particular so you can see how I make it or what it is, please leave a comment and let me know that so I can make sure to include it in a future video. The creamy sausage rigatoni. This is, you cook sausage, you add red sauce and cream cheese, add some pasta. It's a 1-pot dish. It's really yummy. Just serve it with a side of a veggie. Pizza, of course, I always have pizza ingredients. Breakfast for dinner, that's a classic. I can always come up with a breakfast for dinner. Cream cheese chicken chili. It's a slow cooker meal with chicken and beans and then a block of cream cheese on top. We like to serve it with cornbread. So good. Taco casserole, you saw one of those in my freezer already. Those are easy. Burgers, with all that ground beef I have in there, I just make homemade burger patties and then I can make a bun, and then I'll often do potatoes on the side. We have pot roast. I have lots of pot roasts in the freezer, so we either do them classic with like the potatoes and carrots, or I can add like taco seasoning stuff and shred them for beef tacos. Cheeseburger soup, again with some potatoes and some broth and some burger and cheese, easy. Lasagna, you saw I had one of those in the freezer. I also have the ingredients to make more lasagna. Taco soup, spaghetti and meatballs, curry meals. So my husband is up for a curry meal like maybe twice a winter, so I try to capitalize on that. I have some curry spices and stuff upstairs. A meal that I like to call homemade Chick-fil-A. So I'll take those Good Ranchers chicken breasts and cook those, and I'll cook some potatoes and cook them really crispy, and then sometimes a veg on the side. But I do like to make a homemade Chick-fil-A sauce, and so that's our homemade Chick-fil-A meal. The kids think it's great, and it costs a fraction of the price. Meatloaf. Meatloaf is easy. I have a couple recipes on here that I saw on Pinterest to try. I don't know why I was feeling inspired to look up new recipes online, but it's a $1 million chicken bake and green chili fiesta chicken bake. Maybe that's why I got the can of green chilies. I don't know. I'll find out in January. We have quesadillas. I have tortillas and cheese in there. If we run out of tortillas, I do know how to make tortillas, so I can do that if need be. Instant pot beef and broccoli. This is like a takeout style beef and broccoli. You use steaks and then you add the sauce in the Instant Pot, and it's perfect every time. I double the recipe because we all gobble it up. It's great. The grape jelly meatballs that I mentioned earlier, we'll have those at some point. Fried rice. Fun fact, my husband's family, they were missionaries in Asia for a couple of years, and so my mother-in-law learned how to make fried rice there, and so she taught me, and so we like to make fried rice on occasion. Especially after a couple of these meals have rice in them, and so I'll like double batch the rice in our rice cooker, because ideally fried rice is made with like day-old rice, and so that leftover rice will get turned into fried rice and make my life a lot easier. And you can add meat or just do eggs as the protein, so it's really flexible. Biscuits and gravy. I only started making this a year or so ago, but it's like serious comfort food. It's so good. bacon ranch chicken, another slow cooker meal that's like chicken and then some seasonings and a block of cream cheese, and then you add bacon and cheddar on top. What? How can you go wrong? It's so good. And the last thing I have written down is sloppy joes or loaded baked potatoes. I'll make sloppy joe mix and we put it on rolls sometimes, or I will do baked potatoes, break them open, add the sloppy joe on top, some cheddar cheese, and sometimes a dollop of sour cream. It's really yummy, and yeah, my family likes it that way too. A couple of the lunch options I have written down, just so I don't forget them, are Instant Pot Hamburger Helper. My kids like that. Probably every other week I'll make that for them. And it makes a whole Instant Pot's worth, so it does serve them quite a few meals, and they generally don't get tired of it, so win for me. Sandwiches. I like to make homemade bread. You saw we have peanut butter and jelly. I also have chicken salad, tuna salad that I can whip up easily. Or if you do like lunch meat does freeze well, and sliced cheese, you can freeze that as well too. So that would be something if you like to have sandwiches. I will make burgers with the hamburger in there. I will just like hand form a burger and cook it on my cast iron skillet. It's a really easy lunch for me. Tuna patties, again with the tuna you saw. Deviled eggs. I'm on a deviled egg kick, and they're just so good. And so I will just hard boil a bunch of eggs, and I don't even know how many I can eat in one sitting, but I've eaten deviled eggs for lunch. And the last thing I have on here is bagel pizzas or English muffin pizzas. Oftentimes they'll be homemade bagels or homemade English muffins, but you can just buy them with pizza sauce and mozzarella on top, maybe some sausage or pepperoni, or for me, pineapple. But then you bake those in the oven, and my kids think they're really cool because they're miniature sized, and they gobble those up. Those are my meal ideas for January. I'm not convinced that I'm going to make all of them. Things will change. We like to get dinner with my parents and my in-laws as well. So we'll see what happens in January. But those are my ideas for what I could make from my pantry for the most part. A couple of those meals had potatoes, and I do have potatoes over there that I forgot to show you. But I do have some potatoes. I'm also going to get some more at the store before January begins. Also, I wanted to point out, if you saw my pantry and all the ingredients I have, and you have an amazing recipe that you think I should try, please leave a comment below. Either write out the recipe, send me a link, whatever it is. But I'm always want to try new recipes, much to my family's chagrin, but I'm always trying new recipes on them. And so if you have a great one, please let me know. I would really enjoy trying it. If you're still watching at the end of this video, congratulations. I don't know exactly how long it is, but it has felt very lengthy. But I've enjoyed sharing my pantry with you, inviting you into my home so you can see how I run things, how I organize things, and I hope it was helpful for you. You got to learn about the pantry challenge, see my pantry, and hear about some of the meals that I will be making for my family in January. I like to cook from scratch. I like to have all those ingredients on hand, and so I think I'm pretty well prepared for all of January. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that you will join me through the pantry challenge in 2025. Bye, friends.